And now, let's go through the implementation phases of ISO 27001 and continual improvement of information security. The list of activities included in a proposed methodology with the corresponding input and output. The input is the intention of the organization to implement an ISMS. The activities are first, the definition of the approach to the information security management system implementation. Second, the selection of a methodological framework to manage the information security management system implementation project. And 3, the alignment with the best practices. In the output part, we have the selection of a project management methodology. An organization wishing to comply with the ISO 27001 may consider several approaches based on the speed implementation, the scope, the maturity level targeted of the process, and the security controls. Using a rational approach, it is not unreasonable to consider a period of 6 to 12 months for the project from conception to completion of the first cycle of audits and the monitoring of the system. The approach proposed tries to circumvent this difficulty by proposing a philosophy based on 5 principles to initialize such a system within a reasonable time for the organization. First, the business approach. Integrated into the business environment of the organization, choose an application domain related to the heart of the business. Second, the systems approach. Overall, no implementation of isolated process. 3. Systematic approach. Applying the best practices of project management, as, for example, the ISO 10006. Fourth, integrated approach. A management system for the overall management of security and not one for SOX, one for Basel II, one for 27001, etc. Also align or integrate the ISMS with other management systems already in place in the organization. And fifth, iterative approach. Rapid establishment of minimal processes and its improvement thereafter in an initial application domain where the actors are identified and involved and the process defined. Some recommendations to address properly this principle in the field is first, to avoid the integration of new technologies. Design the initial systems with the technology already in place in the organization. Most organizations have already established the minimum technology needed to implement an information security management system. Optimization of the information security management system with more efficient technologies can be done at the continuous improvement phase thereafter. Second, integrate the ISMS in existing processes. Reuse everything that can be and is already formalized and put in relation to the requirements of the ISMS framework. Avoid creation any numbers of processes that do not fit in the reality of the organization. 3. Apply the principles of continuous improvement. Applying the principles of continuous improvement, taking into account the suggestions and improvements suggested by the interested parties in the project. Also, modest goals should be envisaged at the start and the progressive improvement must be set in the long term. And fourth, involve stakeholders in the organization, defining the roles and responsibilities of all project stakeholders early in the implementation process, ensuring their involvement and motivation. Study their relations and maintain them in the system once initialized. 5. Get support from the management. Ensuring that the management understands and supports the project. It will grant the importance and means required in a timely manner, ensuring that the management fulfills its responsibilities for ISMS policy, risk management, and the regular review of the management system over time. And lastly, 6. Appoint an ISMS project manager. Identify and appoint a responsible and accountable person for project implementation. This is not necessarily the ISMS manager, but this appointment will guarantee the smooth running of operations of establishment, the timing, and the support. By following a structured and effective methodology, an organization can be sure to cover all the minimum requirements for the implementation of a management system. Important notes are that whatever methodology used, the organization must adapt it to its particular context and not apply it like a cookbook. Second, the sequence of steps can be changed. For example, the implementation of the documentation management procedure can be done before the understanding of the organization. And three, many processes are iterative because the need for progressive development throughout the implementation project. For example, communication and training. An approach and methodology for implementing a management system can be one presented above. It is based on a best practice. This methodology is based on the guidelines of the ISO standards and meet the requirements of ISO 27001. The methodology is based on the PDCA cycle divided into 4 phases: plan, do, check, and act. Each phase has between 2 and 8 steps. In turn, these steps are divided into activities in tasks. During the training, the steps and activities will be presented and illustrated in the chronological order of the course of an implementation project. Tasks will not be delayed because they are specific for each project and depend on the organization context. An organization wishing to comply with ISO 27001 shall at least demonstrate that actions are taken to continually improve the effectiveness of the ISMS. An emphasis is placed on continual improvement in compliance management through the setting of organizational performance goals, measurement, reviews, and the subsequent modification of processes, systems, resources, capability, and skills. This can be indicated by the existence of explicit performance goals against which the organization's and individual managers' performance is measured. The organization's performance can be published and communicated. Normally, there will be at least an annual review of performance and then a revision of processes and the setting of revised performance objectives for the following period. And then we have the list of activities that includes in the proposed methodology with the corresponding input and output. On the input side, we have the ISMS implemented and all the information obtained from the information security management activities. The activities are to continuous monitoring processes of change factors, maintain and improvement of the ISMS, continual update of the documentation and records, and document the improvements. On the output side, we have the continual relevance of the ISMS to the organization's business objectives and updating the process. To be effective, the management system must be maintained in a ready state that accurately reflects business requirements, procedures, organizational structure, and policies. During the continual improvement phases, the processes and procedures undergo frequent change because of shifting business needs, technology upgrades, or new internal or external policies. Therefore, it is essential that the management system be reviewed and updated regularly as part of the organization's change management process to ensure that the new information is documented and security controls are revised if required. As a general rule, the plan should be reviewed to accuracy and completeness at an organization-defined frequency or whenever significant changes occur to any element of the plan. Certain elements, such as the contact lists, will require more frequent reviews. Whilst all strategies should be reviewed on an ongoing basis, the frequency that an organization's information security strategy should be reviewed is dependent upon the nature, scale, and complexity of the organization based on its business risk profile, appetite, and the environment in which it operates. Good practice indicates a review of the organization strategy should be carried out at least every 12 months, unless it is the initial development and documentation of the strategy, the place of business change is particularly aggressive, the initial outsourcing or intra-organization sourcing of a mission-critical activity or dependence, or a significant change in the key technology and or telecommunications, including systems and networks. The ISMS needs to be maintained and updated periodically. Any agreed improvements to the process or actions necessary to improve conformity to the process should be notified to the appropriate managers to have assurance that no risk or risk element is overlooked or underestimated before implementation of changes. The ISMS documentation is the cornerstone of a working management system. In the event of crisis, it is important to have a complete and up-to-date documentation in order to allow the actors implied in an emergency to follow a guide of the actions instead of deciding ad hoc on improvisation or by intuition. Good documentation by no means eliminates spontaneous decisions, since one should not expect that it is entirely up to date.